Guys, Ash here, Ray Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video. Today we have a champion guide on Rare Champion Haruspex, old school Rare Champion, Rare Reviver at that. We have a request coming in from Vespa Plays. Could you do a review on Haruspex? Personally, I think he's an underrated Rare champ. Let's go ahead and take a look at him and figure out, is he underrated? Does he have anything to offer out there? Is there any reason to invest in this Rare champion? Stay tuned.
Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
All right, guys, so as we mentioned, I think I mentioned, he's a lizard man, he's a rare, he's void, and he's an old school champ in the game. Now, this game still only has a handful of rare revivers. I want to say there's probably like 4 or 5 out there. Gear Grinder comes to mind, Reliquary Tender, Tree Shield Knot. I'm forgetting somebody else, but there's not many, right? There's not many, and Haruspex certainly does revive, so he's got that going for him. He also has a speed aura for the arena, which can be useful in the very early game because of his A2 ability. But first, what else does he have? He has a Infected Liver. Very nice ability name here. It's a 2-time hitter. Each hit has a 30% chance. Actually, scratch that. We have a 35% chance, 40 with Sniper, of placing a weak version of poison for 2 turns. So not too bad. It really helps out when you see these weak versions of poison or big versions of poison on an A1 at a dependable land rate, especially on each hit like this. It's not much, but it will add a little bit of extra damage, similar to like a War Master does from your support champions like a Haruspex. The downside is it does require 6 books to get that juicy 10% chance to bring it from a 25 to a 35% chance at landing on each hit. It's up to you guys to decide if you want to book out the A1, but we can't control where our books go, can we? And the A2, we certainly would like this on a 3-turn cooldown. It can be a nice opening move in the arena. You can run him in early game as your arena lead champion with a speed aura, and then your speed booster on top of that. So for 2 reasons. Number 1, he's going to fill your turn meter by 15% and place that increased speed, albeit the weak version, but increased speed nonetheless. And he's fairly fast for a rare champion with a 105 base speed as well. On the A3, Fate Reweaved is a 5-turn mediocre single target revive. Revives 1 dead ally with 30% HP and 30% turn meter. No support for survivability there in addition to the 30% HP. So let's be real. It's one of the weakest revives in the game, especially when you factor in the cooldown. But it's a rare revive. I mean, a revive is a revive, right? You can pick them up. It's up to you guys to heal your ally after Haruspex comes in with a revive. So that's kind of like what's lacking in his kit, right? Overall, no real support, right? He revives, but there's no heals, there's no continuous heals, no increased defense, there's no shield, there's nothing. There's nothing to keep them alive. So overall, yeah, he's definitely a reviver who he's been power crept. But for faction wars and early game arena, you can definitely get utility out of this guy. Heck, you can even get utility out of him in the end game because he is available in some areas of Curse City, of Centranos, where you just are lacking revivers generally, or your account specifically might be lacking revivers. So he's one of those rare champions that you can use in the early game. If you can get utility out of him in the arena, if you can get utility out of him in Faction Wars, progression for Lizardmen, if you could use that sort of kit, you can take him to level 50, use him in Faction Wars, use him in the arena, and then later on in the end game, when you're on those difficult stages on hard mode in Centranos, maybe at that point you could really use a reviver, take him all the way to 60 then, right? I don't think he's a no-brainer 6-star. I wouldn't recommend 6-starring this champion as a new player. You're just going to get better as a revivers. Heck, you get a reviver for free who's better in Soul of the Drakes after a few months, or even right out the gate in a shaman, you know? So there are other options out there. But again, Faction Wars, yeah, he's not that bad. He's not that bad. There's worse. At least he revives. So I'll show you how I built my Haruspex. Now, I don't have him awakened, but if I did, I would go with Survival Instinct as a blessing just to get that out of the way. He's not healing. I mean, Phantom Touch, not really. Yeah, I think that's going to be the way to go. Survival Instinct. Partially fills his champion's turn meter whenever a debuff is placed, spread, or transferred onto them. You know, at least you get a little bit of turn meter fill here. Up to 10% with no turn restrictions if it's a 6-star. If you're lucky or unlucky enough to get a 6-star blessing for Haruspex. So how do we build them out? Just basic sets here. Immortal, life, resistance. You know, little resistance never hurt. Go in there and revive. The last thing that you want is your reviver to get CC'd when you need them to revive, right? So a little bit of resistance is fine. It's definitely not a priority on this guy. This guy's all about survivability, right? We want to make sure that he survives. And again, in the arena, sure, build a little bit of resistance on him. You know, prevent the enemy from CCing you. You'll be looking good. I did put an accuracy banner on him. It might be worth putting a 2-piece accuracy set, especially if you don't have him fully ascended. Just to get that poison landed on the A1. Because if you're using this guy against the red boss, or against any boss for that matter, just because you're lacking a reviver, maybe early game ice golem or something like that, you know, you could definitely benefit from those poisons. It's not going to be tremendous damage, but it will matter a little bit. It will count, kind of speed up your runs just ever so slightly. We have defense or HP on the amulet. We have HP or defense on the ring. Again, just survivability. Speed, obviously, on the boots. And then we have HP percentage or defense percentage. I prefer HP. It scales relatively similar in terms of his base stats here, but I would prefer HP. But I don't want to totally neglect defense either. I tried to pick basically unascended and unglyphed artifacts. We're just looking for survivability. Honestly, he's a very easy champion to build. If you don't care about the poisons, you don't need accuracy. And then it's just survivability and speed, right? In the arena, you definitely want him to go fast. He's going to be your turn meter booster on that A2 ability. For Masteries, we actually did Masteries on this champion. I don't know, probably a massive waste of 800 gems because I did not farm these up. But we did them. And this is what we went with here, guys. Just very, very basic War Master. You know, I went down the defensive tree. I picked up Shadow Heal, Solidarity, just trying to get a little bit more resistance and a little bit more healing and support, which, again, he kind of lacks in his kit. And then we hugged the left-hand side, and we came all the way down here and picked up War Master as our Tier 6 option. All right, guys, let's go ahead and move myself back over. And let's try him out somewhere. Now, I wish I had Faction Wars so I could put together a proper rare team featuring Haruspex as the Reviver, or maybe a couple of epics in there too. But I don't have that Lizardmen Faction War open right now. So I will go ahead and show you him in Curse City in the endgame with, frankly, a pretty endgame team as well. In Soul Cross Centranos, Stage 21. I have him with a Kemptum, with a Tormin, and then Shagor and a Tamishia, right? So basically just these two champions, well, I can't lie. Tamishia is very important here because she's going to be stunning and CCing the enemies. Everybody else is pretty much replaceable on this team. Now, the nice thing is odds are we're going to have somebody die on this squad, right? We have some squishy champions on the team, 3 of them in Kemptum, Tamishia, and Shagor. So we're going to have a Reviver to pick them right back up, which is really nice. So let's go in here and CC. And even outside of that, guys, the cool thing about this champion, again, is he's going to be bringing more utility rather than just a revive, right? Because revive is nice, but this team is sorely lacking anybody who can bring increased speed to the table. We have no turn meter boosters on this team either, right? By the way, you're going to see some crazy Torment stuff because we're going to be landing freezes and HP burns on this team. Freezes with Tormin, burns with Tamishia, so he is going to be rapid firing AoE every single time an enemy gets a turn. Tormin is the man. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to keep A1ing here because it's pretty good lockdown control. Now, unfortunately, the next couple waves are not going to be as easy as this one just looked. And it's not necessarily easy. We just have nice control on this team with Tamishia and Tormin, a dynamic duo. So this is the wave that the first time I ran this in preparation for this video, I got some deaths. So let's see how it plays out here. Against a Cardial, a Martyr, an Errol, and 2 Hulse Rings as well. Oof. Unfortunate that we don't have either of our top abilities off cooldown right now. Kemptum has his AoE times 3, goes in there, lands some hexes. So we don't have our speed boost up. We're going to keep poking away at Cardial. He's going to get a turn and cleanse. Or maybe he goes in with an ally attack. Let's see. We're going to go in and try to provoke everybody, and we don't land it on Cardinal. So Cardinal does go in with the ally attack. He's going to kill a Kemptim. Well, lucky for us, we have a reviver on the team. The big question, though, is can everybody else stay alive right now? Here comes Martyr. She is luckily provoked. She's going to be sheeped now. Now we can come in and CC the enemy. And look at this. We have burns on everybody. We're going to revive right here. Attaboy. I like showing revive like it's something that you guys haven't seen before. Well, look at that ability. He revived right there before your eyes, guys. All right, Shigura comes in with Venom Storm, and now the day hath been saved, right? Cardiel does have a cleanse, so let's go after him first. Remove those buffs, and Torment, can you finish him off? No, you can't. Let's go ahead and get that buff up there. I would really use the increased speed, and increased speed, again, the weak version, it's all right. It's the weak version. But it's better than no version. It's a hell of a lot better than no version. And keep in mind for new players out there, increased speed, even a 15%, is based off of their total speed, right? So meaning after the gear and after everything else. So that's 15% can easily be 30 speed that you're adding to all your champions, provided they're at 200, speed after their artifacts. So that's really significant if you don't already have it on the team. It's nice to have a reviver with increased speed. That's why I love Tagore so much, right? I guess Sola Drakes kind of has it on her passive too. Quite a few others have it, but it's nice to have, certainly on a rare champion, right? I would say Brahma would be like the epic version. He also has the weak version of speed. But Haruspex has it too, and he's a rare. All right, so we have everybody CC'd. That's fantastic. Let's just go in and... Oops. Yeah, that's good. That's good. A Kemptim go in. So, a Kemptim's great. He does a lot of damage. I'm curious to see how his damage is going to stack up. I don't think anybody's going to come close to Mishia. Do you guys? Let's see. So let's start landing some freezes, hopefully. There we go. Now we're going to get the Gatling gun Tormin go off here. Who do we want to kill? Raka probably, but I hate that she's under a freeze. Let's just go right in the middle, Burning Regret. And that's basically going to be it. So the cool thing about this guy is, listen, I don't know if this is the bad showcase or a good showcase. He's a bit of a power crept rare reviver that was really useful back in the day when we were sorely lacking revivers. Now, maybe not so much, a bit niche, but a reviver nonetheless, as we've said a few times here on this guide. So overall, to the commenters, hypothesis here, he can definitely bring some utility to the table, but I do think he's rather niche. I would not advise people go 6 stars on this champion. Look at a Kemptim. Dude, he always surprises me with this damage, man. Like almost as much as a freaking Void +3 legendary, right? That's really good, man. It's really, really solid there. Out-damaging Shagur. Out-damaging Tormin in a Kemptim. Way to go, buddy. Way to go. And he died. He missed a turn there. Anyway, I digress. That's going to be the guide, guys. We have him on hellhades.com if you want to take a look here. His multiplier is a 1.8 on his A1 ability. It's a weak overall grading. And they give him an overall grade of, let's see. Can I just, get me. I think they give him a 2. For whatever reason, I'm trying to make this as big as humanly. There we go. A 2.5 out of 5. I honestly think that's a very accurate score. His best areas are basically dungeon progression or arena early game, as we mentioned. Maybe some Doom Tower floors as well, if you're lacking a reviver or a secret room. Guys, that's going to do it for Haruspex. Keep the champion god requests coming in the comments below. Thank you for watching all the way till the end, and as always, take care, guys.